Hello and welcome to the Gooner Tour. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our tactical breakdown series and our series called The Report, in which we look every single month at Arsenal's loanees, get the inside and updates of what's been going on around the player. And specifically today, we are going to be talking about the one, the only William Saliba. I'm very happy to be joined by Ben from the Marseille View. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Good, thanks. Yeah.
Good stuff. Not getting locked outside your house anymore?
Not again, no. That was hopefully a one-off occurrence.
Fingers crossed it will
a bit
be.
awkward, but yeah.
No worries at all. Just talk to me briefly about how you've seen Saliba grow since we last spoke. Of course, he's played, I think, 6 games since we last spoke at the end of August. Has he continued to impress in that right centre-back position of the back three?
He has. So I think the last time we spoke, we were on a very good run of 3 consecutive wins. Since then, the whole team, I think, has I wouldn't say struggled, but I think everybody got carried away because we played profiles of opponents who are probably very suited to our style, and then the results have dropped off. So we've been winless in 3 games, got 1 defeat, 2 draws, and then before that I think we won 2 in a row where Saliba performed really well, but not just him, the whole team sort of dropped off a little bit recently. And I think his energy levels, the demanding style of play, which is high press and constant closing down of opponents, etc. So he's been well. He has remained one of the most consistent performers, as we'll see from the stats, and he's really continued on his sort of form and momentum in terms of where he was doing well. But notably Sunday nights when we lost at home to Lens, conceded 3, he was one of the worst performers on Sunday for a number of reasons that we could go into in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when it comes down to Saliba and to a lesser extent at Guendouzi, as we know, who's going to be joining Marseille at the end of the season, because the option to buy has got so many clauses that are really achievable that it will turn into an obligation by the end of the season. But both of them, of course, have questions around the attitude and the social side of their game from a lot of fans. So from that perspective, how's Saliba been behaving? I sound like an old school teacher, but go on.
No, Saliba's been fine. I think he just comes across as very mature. He comes across as someone who keeps his head down and works hard. I think Guendouzi is he's got a character. Certain things came out in the press this week that got debunked on the French side, and I think as it's convenient and it sells papers to have an agenda against Arsenal and slate Arsenal any chance you get, and Arsenal players, only you guys probably got half the story. So there were stories of discontent in the dressing room with his attitude, etc. And no, the whole story was, a lot of players are surprised at his mentality and the way that he's sort of encouraging and hounding everybody in training to play 100% and to do better and improve, etc. So the full article was actually that the players were pleasantly surprised by his mentality at that young age, and the fact that he was hounding them and stuff was viewed as a positive. But you guys only got the negative side.
I never, and obviously I reported on the story from Football London's perspective, and I reported about the interview. Was it Romain Catalan? Canuti, sorry.
He runs the number one sort of Marseille, independent press arm, really fan-led press arm blog. So he's one of the main pundits on that. It's a bit like AFTV, if you will. It's the equivalent in terms of size and following.
Is it like the French version of the guy in Spain who goes like this all the time?
No, because Le Fossin is Marseille centric, but he runs that, and he was misquoted, and he's come out loads of times since then and said, no, I was misquoted. This is what I actually said. This is the video. So he sent links to the videos where he said what he said, and it just got taken out of context because it's convenient, as we know.
Right, you'll have to link me that because I will ensure to report on that in the coming weeks. going back to Saliba, I think it's important if we go through some of the statistics and
Mhm.
kind of cover that side of things. So let's have a look at those defensively. He's maintained a very good defensive duel success rate at 61.8%, nearly 4 duels per game. Over 50% of those aerial duels also being one, which is good. 3.58 interceptions, falls in line with most defenders right now. You expect to see them slightly higher for kind of a defensive midfielder that gets involved with play. 4 losses, 52.8% of in his own half, which isn't the best to know he's losing the balls there. And the recoveries at 8.43, with nearly 20% of those happening in the opposition half. But how has he been defensively? And feel free to obviously reference the stats there.
I think I wouldn't say they skewed it, but his performance on Sunday night and the team's overall performance was we basically got caught out by a very good team at home.
Lons are doing exceptionally well this season.
They're doing well. They did well last season when they got promoted, but this year they've carried on. They've got very strong players. That Fofana, who was in the City Academy, Man City Academy. Sorry, he had sort of journeyman career after that, moving to Italy, and then Lens bought him for 10 million 18 months ago, and he's one of the best players in the French league. So he ran riot. He actually had Guendouzi in his pocket the whole game. But that meant that Saliba was left quite exposed. So I think if you look at the numbers in terms of the losses, so notably in his own half, one of those was on Sunday, and he made a crucial error that led to Lens getting a penalty within the first 10 minutes. And this is where you sort of feel for him a bit, because I think the whole team, because of Sampaoli's style of play, and you see this with Arsenal as well, where it constantly encouraged to play out from the back, take the risky pass to try and draw the opponent out a bit and build by going to either centrally or down the wing. He got caught out because he played a pass that, if it would have come off, would have set us up very nicely for a counter-attack. But sadly, it was a bit of a wayward pass, and it led to the keeper having to come out and sort of to bring the striker down because he was clean for on goal. So it was a sort of pass across the area, not a pass back. So it's one of those where you're thinking, if he'd hoofed it, he wouldn't have conceded that goal. But
of course,
at the same time, that's the style of play that he's being asked to play, and that's I think that's, let's be honest, the first mistake he's made in terms of his passing and his distribution. So if as fans, if that style of play means that we're playing attacking football and we're dynamic, etc., we're not going to complain. A bit like you guys at Arsenal, you see it, and you sometimes you hold your breath. Is that pass actually going to come off? Was that the smartest thing to do there? But when it does come off, and when the players have it drilled into them, you sort of think, right, well, this is our style, and so what? If we get caught out every now and again, it comes with the territory, doesn't it? Because you can't get high reward without taking high risk. So I think, he took the risk. But I would take comfort as an Arsenal fan that he's playing the same system effectively that Arteta's put in place. So you would think that he will have it drilled into him, and it won't be a surprise to him, and it won't need to adapt to it if he does come back to Arsenal next year. And he should be able to slot right in, because the instructions and the build-up are pretty much the same.
One of the things I have noticed, going kind of that social side, just listening to what you're saying about how he won't slot back into Arsenal, and one of the big questions is whether or not Arteta will take him back, like a partner that's had other partner cheat on them, kind of thing. It's will he take him back but at the end of the season? But when it comes down to his time at Nice, one of the big things wrong with that people found, and Arsenal fans found, with the amount of interviews that he did and speaking out a lot, he seems to be quite quiet at Marseille. I haven't heard anything in regards to an interview. Is there a reason for that, or do you think they're stamping down on that? Or
no, I think he did. He gave, maybe it was Sunday actually. I think it might have been Sunday that he came to the mic at half time and sort of owned it and said, "Look, first goal, it's the style we're being told to play, and it's my fault. Didn't play the pass well enough. Didn't apply myself to make the pass right, but that's the way we're being told to play." And that, beyond that, no, he's not intervened. I think it's been rotating. So every few games, obviously there's a presser before every game, isn't there, for every club? And sometimes afterwards. And I just think that he's one of those that there are other leaders. So at Nice, whereas he was probably one of the main technical leaders in terms of his status and his profile compared to other Nice players and the sort of profile of their squads, we have a number of sort of established players that are probably more likely and probably better homed at talking to the press. I have no doubt that he will probably more than likely be one of the players that does a press conference, and even more so because he's French and the press will want to hear from him.
Yeah,
but it hasn't happened yet, and I just don't. I wouldn't read into it really. It's been rotating. Guendouzi did it last week. Payet's been doing a few. Mandonda's been doing a few. I think it's they're trying to leave it to the senior players to come out and own it really.
Let's go on to the passing stats because this is where it gets very impressive. As we talked about in the first show that we did, it was 100% across the board. It was never going to be sustainable seeing 100% passing stats in so many areas, but considering he's played 6 games since then and those passing statistics are still in the 90s for so many areas, is still very impressive. Specifically, those passes into the final third, 9.24 being made on average per game and a 91.3% passing accuracy. Do you think it's a coaching style, or is it just ingrained into his philosophy of playing football that he wants to progress the ball as much as he can?
I'd say it's both. And I think because I think we touched on it last time, didn't we? That he was already playing similar style at Saint-Etienne and at Nice. You saw glimpses of it, but probably not as often. But you saw that he was capable and that he was one of those ball-playing defenders that would look to play forwards. And I think now you couple it with Sampaoli's style that wants him to get involved in the build-up. I think also he's benefited from the last time we spoke, we'd only just re-signed Paul Lirola, who was our right wing back last season that we had on loan. And now he's obviously rejoined and started a few games alongside Saliba since then. And I think they're starting to find to find that sort of partnership and that understanding that you need as players when you play on the same wing, especially defensively in a 3-5-2. But he's benefited because Lirola is a very attacking fullback, and he's very often the go-to solution for Saliba because they're playing on the same side. So because Lirola gets forward so much, and you have Guendouzi dropping deep to allow Lirola to go forwards, you will see Saliba often just playing a 20-yard, 30-yard pass to Lirola if he can pull it off. And more often than not, as we see from the stats, he does pull it off. So he's been impressive. He's continued to play the progression and to sort of contribute to the build-up and move forwards. But at the same time, because opponents are obviously getting clued up to this style, it leads to the defensive stats we saw on the previous page, which will continue to even themselves out because of our style of play and the way he will be left exposed at times.
Yeah, and we do, as we say, we're going to track his performances and you'll start seeing kind of whether or not he's improving or regressing in certain areas of the game. Moving on to finally the style side of things and dribbling. Does he continue to be expressive when on the ball? He doesn't want to just take the ball and pass it. Does he like to get forward on the ball?
I mean, I wouldn't say we've had a few hold your breath moments, but there's certainly, I mean, he nutmegged someone in the area last night and it's like in our own area and you're like, mate, really? But if it comes off, it comes off. He's a hero, but there will be a time when it doesn't. But that is his style. I think we do like that about him is that he's 20 years old. He's got balls on him. He's not afraid. He takes people on. He takes the risk because often I think he can read that if he pulls it off. They'll be practicing this in training week, day in, day out anyway. But if he pulls it off, he knows that then he'll have time on the ball to look up and distribute, which is what he's being asked to do as one of the two sort of ball-playing centre-backs out of those three. So he's continued to impress. On Sunday, he struggled a bit and he didn't play his natural game because Lens, again, fair play to them. They played a brilliant game. They were pressing him and the whole team very well for good 75 minutes. He was a bit more, safety first. He was a bit more cautious, especially after he got caught out so early in the game. And then sadly for the third goal, which ended up being the winning goal for Lens, he was late to track his man in the box, and guy got a free header because he was ahead of him and got to the ball quicker. So, but that's because just before that he'd been pulled out of position to go and he'd sort of made progressive run down the right side. And when Lirola, who got the ball from him, lost it, he just sort of 75th minute probably didn't have the energy or lost the sort of contribution, so the concentration to track back and lost his man. But it is due to that style, which will have its rewards, but it comes with its risks.
Absolutely. It will be intriguing to see how his kind of game develops with Marseille's new system being kind of discovered by other sides and worked out by other sides, because it's very protagonistic, it's risky, but it makes for great watching. Maybe not as a fan of Marseille at all times, but certainly as the neutral, it's very entertaining to watch. Just any final thoughts on Saliba and kind of where you'd like to see him develop in the next month?
I think I wouldn't say it's a question mark, but you touched on it. It'd be nice to see him in a press conference, because I'm sure people have put some interesting questions across to him. So it'd be nice to get his views on things. I think a lot of question marks at the minute. So Guendouzi's been called up to the France team again. A lot of us as fans, as always, it's like, why aren't more of our players in the national team? But I would like to see him continue to play at this level. Yes, he will make a few more mistakes, but overall he's been very consistent. But I think what we're going to see now is there's going to be a bit more rotation of the squads, because we've got 6 games coming up in October, quite a few of them away as well. So I'd like to see, because he's benefited from being a consistent starter. I'd like to see him being able to, if he is being taken in and out of the team every 2 or 3 games, I'd like to see him just keep his head down and maintain that level.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a case of seeing the development across the whole season to average things out. And while we do these every month, it will be when I watch back, say, this conversation in comparison to the conversation in March or April, and how different we're talking about Saliba, and then we can have a think about how we can reintegrate back into the Arsenal team, if at all, because maybe there'll be some interviews that come out in those periods which suggest that maybe that won't or will be happening. So it's going to be an intriguing season, that's for sure. Anyway, thank you, Ben, for coming on today. Really appreciate your time. Do you want to give yourself and the Marseille View a shout out and tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, hi guys. So the Marseille View is an English-speaking podcast we run about Marseille. I think we're recording on Monday because it's been a couple of weeks as some of us have been off ill, and it just goes into breakdown. Nowhere near the detail that Tom puts into it, because we're not as savvy. But it goes into breakdown. We review the games and performances. So it's a good place to get information. And hi to all the guys, and thanks for having me. Look forward to next time.
So if you are looking for a French team to make your second side along with Arsenal, Marseille is an exciting pick, and it won't leave you bored. It's fair to say, with the entertaining football that's been going on in OM. So we look forward to seeing how Saliba gets on anymore. And of course, you'll be able to find out all of that at the Gooner Talk every single month. But if you want, as we say, week or bi-weekly updates on Marseille, then please do go check out the Marseille View, and you'll be able to find out even more stuff there. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the 8 a.m. show as always, and then the reaction to the Brighton game, where fingers crossed Arsenal have come out with a result. But we will see you, as you say, very soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.